Sorry about that. We've been having some serious technical difficulties. Gonna put this phone on Do Not Disturb, and we're gonna start all over this J.R. Hendrick Texan Consort. Alright. Let's go back to February 10th. 11:15 a.m. J.R. is having a burger with his Uncle Tom at Jerry's Grill, not far from Texas Tech. I have to tell you, J.R., I really opened up with happiness when your father told me you got accepted to Texas Tech. Tom said, "What are you studying?" "Public affairs, political communications," J.R. said. "I'm proud of you, J.R. So unlike your father, a Swain gentleman. I studied management at Texas Tech, and then spent time in Colorado before forming my own company and moving closer to home. Well, I think I either want to go into law or business, something having to do with things dealing with politics. Your granddad would be so proud of you, son. You're trained to make $1, but he also trains you to make a difference. And that's what counts. I guess that's why you agreed to let Amy Kathleen spend her freshman college year in D.C. and Virginia. She can spend time with you this summer. I don't think your granddad would approve of the internship you're going for, but I would." 1:25 p.m. J.R. is back in his dorm room, listening to the Andrew House Show, which was currently being hosted by John DeSantis from Baton Rouge, Louisiana. It is jejune to believe that the Arkansas State Troopers that want to come forward about Bill Clinton are lying. Think about the evidence of many vehicles that Clinton used to travel as Arkansas's governor for sexual liaisons, and the troopers that were being paid or sworn to secrecy not to tell anyone, not even Hillary Clinton. That damn Governor Clinton was involved in heavy sexual affairs. 3:40 p.m. J.R. and Jennifer Bowers are studying for Tuesday's government exam at the Texas Tech Library, 3rd floor, Center for Visually Impaired. She reads a chapter to J.R., and he records notes on his handy cassette. He longs for the weekend when he can hang out with Ken and not so much Brad and Jim Bob. 5:15 p.m. The Blake Carter Show is on with guest hosted by Greg Sanders in Washington, D.C. because Blake is doing a 2-part interview with Jim Hendrick at the Hendrick family condo in Odessa, Texas. Greg had this pronouncement: "Many of you know that I am a libertarian, and I have to tell you, Lord knows this country has had enough of this high-taxing, womanizing, warmongering president." 7 p.m. The home group Bible study is underway at Dr. Michelle's house, and Brad is being very cordial. J.R. is relieved that Brad has agreed to take him to and from the Bible study. February 11th, 5:10 a.m. J.R. wakes up and starts packing. Today his plan was to skip school and leave and leave Lubbock at 9 a.m. so he could be home by 11. He knows that today is his brother Kyle's 19th birthday. Kyle and Madison would be going tonight to a special steakhouse nightclub to celebrate. He turns on the radio, and the Blake Carter Minute comes on. Well, I was out last night. I wasn't aware, but I was aware that while I was sleeping, the news came in. Big Boss Hogg died in the middle of the night from colorectal cancer. Terrell Booth has a special place in my heart. I remember coming home from my reporter job in Philadelphia, first beginning to watch the Dukes of Hazzard. My ex-wife at the time could not understand what drew me to watch that show, but it was to remind me of the fun times I had growing up in Virginia. We'll miss you, Big Boss Hogg. 6:15 a.m. J.R. had been reading for about an hour when he finished the 430-page book by Blake Carter, Saving the Republic. In the day, the Indy Pilsner had busted J.R. with a book. His friend Alex Portalis told him that it was important for J.R. to finish the book, regardless of whether or not it was recommended by his tutor. He and Donna told him that Pilsner had a reputation of being an atheist and a Southern Democrat from Oklahoma. Pilsner had graduated from Southeast Oklahoma State University with a bachelor's in public relations. He received his master's degree in government from the Kennedy School of Government in 1966, before going on to Princeton University, where he received his PhD in 1968. He and his wife, Anna, have been teaching at Texas Tech University since 1980. Pilsner was deeply despised by conservative students on campus, especially since 1992, when J.R. overheard him say that Bill Clinton is twice the man to be the U.S. president. He remembers visits from his father back in the fall of 1992, and Pilsner's run-ins with his father. 6:25 a.m. Meanwhile, back at the ranch, as Betsy is lining up some kittens that were some of the farm animals, Jim was on the phone having a conversation with Clara Booth Luss. Yeah, I know. My son is coming home. But today I want to concentrate on my boy Kyle. JR is too politically headstrong for his own good. But Kyle, I tell you what, that man worships me. He's apolitical, which means he's one thing to me, multiple. He didn't know that his mother-in-law had overheard the conversation. Elizabeth loved Kyle, and the canvas that he gave her. But the one that she doted on the most, that needed attention, was her grandson, Swain Gentleman Jr. 6:30 a.m. Jr. is having breakfast with Brent Clark and Alex Portalis. "Did you finish the book?" Alex asked. "Yeah, I did. I want to thank you all for giving it to me," Jr. said. "Well, I hope you're ready for tomorrow night's debate." "I hear your topic is entitlement reform," Brent said. "And I'm ready for my sparring partner. I'm going to win this debate." "Well, I'll be driving in tomorrow, so, and then maybe I can stay the night with you at the ranch, and we can go back together Sunday." 8:05 a.m. Jeremy meets Darren outside Gordon Hall and puts his suitcase in the back of the Hummer. Riding with him would be Dave Smith, because he learned that his 11 a.m. class was canceled due to professor sickness. Jared had also learned that George Hooper was canceling class today because he had to take his wife to the doctor. 8:55 a.m. Darren pulls the Hummer out from Gordon Hall. Parking lot. And Dave Smith, with J.R. and Dave Smith as it heads for Swainfield, For Him was playing on the car stereo. 9:20 a.m. At the Hendrick offices in downtown Midland, Jim is meeting with State Senator Teal Bivens about Ann Richards' appointment of Estes Land for the Texas Railroad Commission. Bivens reassures Jim that land, for the most part, was a dying-wool conservative. And Jim realized that because in 1985, Land admitted to him that he was duped by Mark White. 10 a.m. Meanwhile, back at the ranch, Elizabeth is watching The Price is Right. Betsy is outside cleaning the chicken coop. She sees her husband, Jim, get in his truck and drive off towards an oil rig in Kermit, Texas. Meanwhile, inside the house, plans are being made for JR's return. Fried chicken, mashed potatoes, green beans, and Swain fried squash, fresh from the farms in Forney, Texas, where the Swain family once owned a farm cabin near Thompson Lake. The family would go there during the summers and every 6 months when Jim and Betsy had to take JR to a specialist in Dallas, an endocrinologist named Dr. Samuel Lincolnstein. He was a British-American endocrinologist and psychiatrist who worked with children with multiple birth defects in Texas. And he went to bat for JR in the school district to keep them from holding back due to mental retardation. He's now a lecturer at UT Southwest Medical Center, and is still getting data on